Empathy is the energy coach's superpower. I'll say that again. It's a superpower for energy coaches to have. They're not just looking at data. They're not just checking the boxes. They're looking at a human being. I'm Carolyn Parrs, communicator, coach, and host of Just Power, a podcast about creating a clean energy future without leaving anyone behind. Join me as we explore the technologies, policies, and human stories that can make clean energy not just sustainable for our planet, but accessible for everyone. Imagine trying to navigate the clean energy transition without a map, in a language that you don't even understand. That, my friends, is what it feels like for so many folks out there. Their utility bill arrives, right? And it's already too high for them. And there's no explanation, only a feeling of anxiety. Or the rate changes, but no one told them why, just more pressure on their paycheck. Or they get a solar program that's advertised to them, but they're a renter. Or their credit they wouldn't qualify with their credit. So it feels out of reach and they wonder, is this really for me? But what if there was a guide along the way? An energy translator, a human being that they could trust. Not a salesperson, not a pamphlet, and definitely not a bot. Right? But a real human being, someone that would sit down and say, let's walk through this together. That's what we're talking about today. Hi, I'm Carolyn Parrs, and welcome to Just Power. Today, we're digging into a role that may be one of the most important and powerful tools in the energy transition toolkit, the role of an energy coach. That's right. So if you're a utility executive trying to reduce disconnections and build trust, or maybe you're a solar developer looking to expand across underserved communities, or you work for a community-based organization supporting renters and elders or tribal families, or maybe you're an advocate, right, to bring equity to the center of the stage in policy. No matter what it is, this episode is for you, right? Because energy coaches is not a nice to have thing. They're essential infrastructure in our energy transition. Yes. Let's face it, we're in the middle of something massive right now. New technologies, new regulations, new energy burdens, and that's growing, right? But new opportunities as well. New opportunities to build as well. That's where the energy coach comes in. Think of it like a health coach, but for power bills, for home upgrades, for community resilience, right? So as a coach myself, a trained coach myself, I've seen how transformational it can be when someone finally is seen, is heard, and feels empowered in their process. So in this episode, we're going to explore that, what an energy coach is and what it's not. And I'm going to give you 7 traits that make energy coaches truly effective and why this role is so powerful to build trust and resilience and get results in our energy transition. All right, so let's jump in. What is an energy coach anyway, right? And let me begin with what it's not, okay? So it's not a salesperson, right? They're not here to push a program forward or pitch a product or close a deal. That is definitely not what they are, right? It's not just a customer service rep either that's following a script, right? And checking the boxes along the way with light training. No. First and foremost, an energy coach is a trusted guide. I'll say that again, is a trusted guide for your communities, for your customers. Think of them as like an energy human translator, right? They understand the basics of energy and they can explain it. And then they build relationships all along the way. This can smooth out regulatory issues. This can help build trust and resilience in your communities like no other, because they meet people where they are, literally and emotionally. They are trained and they know how to listen. They can explain too concepts like complex systems and break that down into simple, grounded, plain language so everyday people can understand. And I would say most importantly, they help people feel like they're seen in a system that often overlooks them. Okay? So what I want to do is walk you through seven key traits of great energy coaches, both from my coaching work in the utility world and my training and my private practice, right? I'm going to bring this all together for you because it's such an important part in our energy transition today. So, number one, an energy coach understands how energy works, right? This is foundational. The coach needs to understand the basics of energy, for sure. How the grid works, what rates mean, how energy efficiency actually saves them money, how solar works, how to navigate the many utility programs, all of this and more. But just as important as understanding energy, they know how to explain it in a way that anyone can understand it. I like to call it like street language. Like if you were hanging out with somebody on the street, how would you say that without getting into jargon, right? No jargon. We know that in the utility world, so much jargon in between. You got to drop that completely. If you can't explain what a kilowatt hour is in plain English, that's not going to help anybody. So when I was working, give you an example, when I was working with the utility as an environmental communications consultant for many years, and my role was being a bridge between the utility and the environmental communities. I was kind of like the go-between. And as an environmentalist myself, right? I could understand. I actually understand both sides, right? Which makes it valuable for an energy coach. But I would see that many environmentalists would rally for hours upon hours at the state capitol on behalf of the environment. And I understand how important that is, right? They wanted to have their voice be heard. Yet, when I would sit down with them, and this is what I did as a coach, sit down with them in a one-on-one, over coffee, eyeball to eyeball, heart to heart, I learned that there were so many things that they didn't understand, the complexities of the energy world, right? Perhaps the infrastructure side, or perhaps the financial side to it all. So when I took time to meet them where they were, but first hearing their side with thoughtfulness, and not interrupting, but really, and then even sometimes repeating back what I heard. And then gently, I would explain some of the nuances of what the utility was up against, right? From a very human standpoint. That transformed everything. No bot can do that, right? Which brings me to the next trait. Number 2, lead with empathy. Lead with empathy. Empathy is the energy coach's superpower. I'll say that again. It's a superpower for energy coaches to have. They're not just looking at data. They're not just checking the boxes. They're looking at a human being who might be confused, who might be frustrated, who might be passionate about something, might be behind on bills and they're overwhelmed. So a good coach would start with, hey, tell me what's going on, right? Not, here's what you should do. I've seen that happen, right? That's not the approach. They start with curiosity, right? Through their empathetic selves, with curiosity, compassion, and also being really fully present with the person that they're sitting across from, okay? So they can bring that skillfulness, which is what I said about knowing the energy world, but they lead with the empathy, right? They bring that to the table first. So to give you an example, I'm sure we've all experienced this at some point. You're on the phone, you're having a problem, you have to call up that corporation or that company, and you're trying to resolve something of yours. And you say in great detail of what's happening for you. And the person on the other end, right, you can smell it, that they're following some sort of script. Oh, they may say, I'm sorry that this is happening to you, but, and then they quickly zoom into their protocol, like they didn't hear a word you just said. Oh, I cannot tell you how frustrating that is for me. That is not empathy, my friends. That is strategy. So this person is not trained in the way we're talking about today. Empathy realizes that there is a person on the other end, on the phone or texting or whatever way your communication is happening. And they're trained to listen and to help authentically, right? Person to person. They understand the customer's reality, which is trait number 3. Understanding your customer and where they're coming from, their reality. So this is about being situationally aware, right? Situationally aware. Are they renters? Do they have a language barrier? Are they dealing with a medical device? Are they wholeheartedly for the environment, and that's the lens that they see through? Are they dealing with fixed income? See, there's so many levels to that, right? So your energy coach would be in alignment with that, with their situation. Okay. Now they might not have experienced themselves. Many times they have. Only makes that the compassion stronger, but they might also just be able to relate. And maybe they know someone that's had that happen to them as well. So that's where it's really important. So a coach doesn't offer just blanket solutions when they hear that. They say to themselves, what makes sense for this person right now? What makes sense for their life right now? And they can see the possibilities within the constraints, and no shame, no blame, no protocols, right? So that is really important to understand your customer and the situation they're in, which brings me now to trait number 4, which is close to my heart, is that the energy coach plays the guide, right? They're not the hero. They're the guide that helps you or their customer get to where you need to go. Okay, I did a whole show on this. I'll put it in the show notes about the customer's the hero and you're the guide. I would highly recommend you listen to that because it has a lot to do with what we're talking about today, that the customer is the hero here and you're there to help them. You're not there to rescue them, right? You're there to support them, to equip them with what they need, to empower them, for them to take the next steps, because you realize that they are resourceful, they're creative, and they're whole human beings. They've gotten this far in life without you, right? They have resources internally and perhaps even externally, and that will help build confidence and trust along the way. This is especially true when you're working with community-based organizations. That trust gets built over time with consistency and care, showing up over and over, coming back to the table over and over again, and reflecting back to them what you heard. I said that earlier, really important, so they know you're hearing them and empathizing with them. And then offering, here's the next level of being a bridge, which I talked a little bit about that role, a bridge between their community, right, and the utility, and the utility from the utility side and the communities they serve. So this is actually really important for both sides of the fence. I'm focusing on the energy provider today. So being a bridge. Such an important role. Not a lot of training out there. So that's why this is important. I got thrown into it. Frankly, it was not something I was expecting, but I had coaching training and I was able to use that in some of the interactions, and it had remarkable results. And we literally passed the Energy Transition Act by using building bridges, right? I call it building bridges in a broken world, right? And that is what an energy coach does, right? They're a living bridge between big systems and everyday people. They take what's happening in the transition or in the utility or in the solar company, right? Or even at a policy level, and they explain it in a way that feels relevant to that person and is actionable, right? And they do it. And they do it by being able to be in the neutral position in the middle, right? And they do something even more powerful, right? They bring feedback from the community to the system, right? Or to back to the corporation. It's like they become a two-way channel for clarity, accountability, and even co-creation arises for that. I would often hear, when I do this work, I would often hear companies say, how did you get to that level, right? How did they even share that with you? I built safety and trust all along the way. That the listening, the empathy, and the trust was built over time, and they felt safe with me. And they knew I would respect and keep those confidences on both sides of the fence. So integrity, super important. That's the heart, at the heart of bridge building. All right. Now, trait number 6, know the local landscape. This one is so often overlooked, right? But it's a power place for the energy coach, because a great coach knows what's available in their community, grants or rebates or contractors, translation services, indigenous partners, right? You name it. And if they don't know, they make it their job to know. Okay? They may even live in that zip code, which gives them even a stronger empathetic connection to that community. So that's really important. That kind of cultural competence and place-based knowledge is priceless. All right, so we're going on to trait number 7. The last trait for today is energy coaches build trust. Now, I've mentioned trust already, but I have to put this in a category of itself because it is so big, especially in the energy world, right? And where we are right now, we're in a trust recession. And no wonder we have fake news and what do we should believe, and who's speaking the loudest. All of this is hitting us at all levels. So this is a really key point for that energy coach to be that trusted guide along the way. So important, right? So they build long-term relationships through trust. Never a one and done. They check in, they follow up. They even send emails, things that, when I say send emails, I'll send things that will be beneficial for the community because I'm just thinking about them, right? They support them across seasons, not just programs. They know that trust can be broken, right? It can be broken. So they hold it in a very, I would even say, a sacred way, because it when you build trust, it's slow and it so quickly could be diminished, but the person connection is not. Okay, and that's what you're building. Trust is slow, but trust is everything. I'll say that again. Trust is slow building, but trust is everything, especially in communities that have been historically underserved, overlooked, or even at times misled. So there you have it. 7 essential traits of energy coaches. And I put this together in a downloadable PDF for you, so you can grab that. You can go to mindovermarkets.com/energy coach. Right? And it's all there for you. Mind over markets /energy coach. In the that's in the show notes as well. I'd love to see this type of support sprouting inside of the energy world for providers, corporations, solar companies, no matter how you serve your customers during this key time in our energy transition. It's going to be even more important in this world of AI that we live in right now. So I want to, in closing, I'm going to just transition into the question that's been, ringing inside of my mind is, why don't we have energy coaches already? Why are they not out there? And what I could really see is that the system, right, the energy system wasn't built on building relationships. It was built on transactions, right? So this is the big shift. I hope some CEOs are listening to this or community advocates. It's built on relationships, and that is what's changing right now, okay? So more energy providers are realizing that they need people, not just portals, and more community-based organizations are stepping into that role. Funders are seeing the value in the human layer of the energy transition. All of this is coming to roost right now. So I believe we need a professional training to support this kind of role at scale inside of the energy companies, especially for tribal, rural, and disinvested communities. Because technology doesn't build trust. People do. People do, right? So here's my question for you as we close today. Who can play this role? Maybe it's you, right? Maybe it's someone in your community that's already doing this kind of role, maybe with a different title. Maybe it's a program that you're funding or thinking of funding or launching. Put it in the comments. I'd love to know. Are you building or funding an energy coaching model? Are you training local residents maybe to be navigators or guides? Are you seeing this in motion already? Put it in the comments. I'd love to know. And let's connect, right? You can DM me on LinkedIn, Carolyn Parrs. You can find me there. Email me, cparrs@mindovermarkets.com. And all of this is in the show notes. Or you can share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, right? Because we're not just building a clean energy infrastructure, we're building a trust infrastructure. And energy coaches, they're some of the most important builders we've got, right? Because we are all in this together. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to Just Power wherever you get your podcasts. And if you really loved it, leave us a review and tell everyone you know about our podcast. It's going to take all of us to create a clean energy future that leaves no one behind.